This is Jonathan Mickles with the Strategic Multifamily Investing Podcast. And today I have the honor of having Bob Lachance. How's it going, Bob?
Jonathan, thanks for having me. I'm doing very well.
Excellent, excellent. So before the call, we were talking about the new year, and Happy New Year to you. I know sometimes that goes on for another month or two, for people who haven't connected in a while. But what have you been up to most recently with your business?
I have a couple different business. I know you and I spoke a little bit offline. We have the real estate side. I also have a virtual assistant company that I started back in 2014. So I kind of I kind of split my time between those two. And I also have three kids that play ice hockey. So kind of all over the place and juggling time, just like all of us.
Yeah, so playing ice hockey is just like playing soccer, just like playing football.
Yep.
Lots and lots of practices, lots of games and tournaments. Do your kids do travel?
They do, all of them do. So my oldest is in Long Island. My other one's high school, and the other one's high school as well. So they're all over the place.
Yep, all over the place. So let's go back to a little bit more about the origin story. Why did you get involved in real estate in general? Just kind of Where did that come from?
Well, long story short, I went to school for 4 years, and I left after two. Well, I was two classes short. Let me rephrase that. Of getting my degree because I signed a professional contract playing ice hockey. So I signed with St. Louis Blues. I was in their organization for 2 years. Then I played 2 more years in the United States and then 4 more years in Europe. And then I decided, hey, I either have to go back to school or jump into an industry where you need zero barriers of entry. So I looked all over the place. I found real estate. You didn't have to get a degree. You don't need any, licenses or anything like that to jump in. So that's why I chose this.
So then jumping back, okay, so professional hockey player, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And you played all over the place. So I can understand why your kids have a passion and a love for it, right? Started them all small. So then, but you got into real estate. There are a couple other industries that are out there. How did you find your path in real estate? Because that's kind of like, blue ocean, you could be talking about a lot of different things. You could be talking about commercial, residential. Where did you go? And like, how did you figure out which path to go in?
Yeah, it's funny. Just like a lot of us, I started reading books when I was on the road when I was playing hockey. I still started. I knew life after hockey was gonna come, and trust me, it's not easy. I mean, that a lot of the students that you work with, it's just we're all from everywhere, all walks of life. Doesn't matter. So I started reading books, both residential and commercial, and I didn't know where to go. And I buy anything. I bought a course all about real estate, but not really anything specific. So when I retired, I decided I was going to retire. I figured it was easier to get into residential. So first property I bought was a rehab. I ended up doing pretty well on it. Made about $32,000.
Okay,
but I also,
if you don't mind, I want to pause there. There's a lot baked in there, so I just want to drill down a little bit more. So you said barriers of entry, real estate. I've been reading a lot of books. What were some of the books that you think, for someone who may be interested in starting, getting involved in, you think like this one and this one, it kind of pointed me to where I wanted to go?
Yeah, for me, it's Rich Dad Poor Dad. I know a lot of people have gotten in Rich Dad Poor Dad. And then another one was, I think, is Buying and Selling Commercial Real Estate. I think that was the name of it. I'm going back to 2002, 2003, 2004 time. So I'd buy those books and I would read them, just understanding just trying to get the terms, because if you don't know the terms, it's kind of tough to jump into any type of industry. But the course I got, it was easier to jump into residential real estate. So that's when I, took my first step in that division in that area.
Was it a mentor type of thing, or did you do this on your own? How did you hack that one?
So that was tough, to be honest with you. I knew nothing, and I'll be 100% straight. I came from the locker room to the real world, and I'm like, what the hell I didn't know what to do. I really didn't know what to do. So I just took action right away. I got in my car and I learned what farming areas was. So literally driving neighborhoods up and down, up and down, up and down. And I saw this property that was listed. I would take notes. I'd have my pad. I would take notes on properties that were beat up because I thought I was a rehabber. I didn't know even what a rehabber was. I grew up my father was a contractor, but I was not. Trust me. Like I was not even close to a contractor.
What type of contracting? What type of contracting was he?
So he was a framer. He was very, very good at framing. So he would, put on additions and framing and things like that. And I'd be his gopher, right? I'd rip roofs as well. I would do all the crap work that nobody wants to do. And he never taught me the business because he said, I do not want you to get in this business. Because
Wow.
There's ups and downs. He lived through recessions and got beat up and got back up. And, we never want our kids to go through those same types of pain that we did. So he never taught me it. But then it's kind of funny. I got back into that business. Not really the business, is more of the business owner side of it. Not framing houses, but more of on the flipping houses side.
So I think that's a lesson for everybody else. It may not necessarily be, even though our parents may say, don't go into something, there is a reason why, and they really don't necessarily explain, hey, you could be on the other side and that actually be a very positive thing. So did you have, when you started out, did you have money saved up from when you were playing? Did you partner? Did you get a loan? How did you work that out? Because you mentioned it was very hard. So want to kind of pick through that a little bit.
It's actually funny. The first deal, I put a little money away, but it wasn't, you're not making a ton of money when you're in the minors. Let's call it what it is, right? I was this close to making the NHL, but it's not the NHL. So the money goes from, $500,000, $1 million to literally $40,000, $50,000 a year, right? When I was playing. So how I actually did it at that time, I actually farmed areas. I put an offer on a property. They accepted it. Property's listed for 185, put an offer, and I think it's 135, and they said yes. And at that point, I'm like, what do I do now? Right? I didn't know how to scope properties. I didn't know anything. So I grabbed, it was called the Foothills Trader, and I went through, I looked for all contractors, and I called them all. One guy called me back. His name was Junior. This is back in 2004. So I'm like, hey, Junior, I got a property. Could you come scope it out? Tell me how much it costs to fix up. I knew what I wanted done. And then I also called a mortgage broker at the time. And then I got approved. He came in. I had a little money put away. I put about $30,000 into the property. Ended up selling it 2 months, made $32,000. I'm like, whoo, this business is awesome. However, I also realized, I didn't have any mentors. You touched upon that. We didn't have podcasts like this, right? I couldn't go to you and call you up and say, hey, I couldn't say, hey, Jonathan, I got a multifamily deal. Could you come partner with me? I didn't have that, right?
Yeah.
So I realized real quickly I needed systems, processes. I needed people. I needed to work with other people because I don't like working by myself. I've always been part of a team. And, one thing I learned, and I think this is very important for everybody, is you're only going to make so much money doing things by yourself. You can make 10 times more if you make a piece. He makes a piece, she makes a piece, I make a piece.
So I've got another question there. So, a lot of people talk about having a team, and we understand that and we hear that often. And I'm pretty sure you've got some both horror stories as well as praiseworthy stories around teams, especially being on one and, having to play hockey. You understand that. What are some of the key things about finding good team members?
Yep. They got to be for the gooder company. It can't be just for them. They can't be selfish. They have to be coachable. They have to be able to work with each other, right? It can't be someone who's selfish. Be very careful when you hire somebody because there's a lot of people that want to give, right? You could be the owner, but you also have to give back too. Because if I'm going to mentor you, you have to make sure that individual is going to be open to accepting your feedback, accepting your coaching to help them grow. So it's very important to make sure that they are coachable and that they are open to feedback, both positive and negative. And we all know, that you've been in business for a long time, of the way we deliver things sometimes is the most important thing. That it's not the words, it's just maybe it's your tonality, it's your delivery.
Absolutely. Okay, excellent. So you got in, you made your $32,000. Woohoo.
Yep.
And you realized what? You were about to go, you realized something. Was that a positive thing that you made the 32, or was it now a negative thing because now you have tax issues? Which was it?
Well, no, it's a positive thing, but I realized I had no team. I looked at myself in the mirror. I said I had no marketing set up because think about this. You get in your car, you drive around, you get lucky in a house. That's what I did, quite frankly, because I had no systems, no process. I realized quickly that I also needed a community. So I joined my local real estate investor community where there are other investors there. And then I went to everybody around there and just started networking, talking to people, understanding what they did. I would listen to speakers, and I saw speakers speak on pre-foreclosure, which is short sales. I bought their course. I was buying everything because at this time I wanted all the education. If I'm going to jump in this new industry, this is my new business, right? It's not playing hockey anymore. It is the new business. So I'm going to invest as much money as I can. So I bought that course, and in my mind now, I'm a pre-foreclosure investor. I'm a short sale investor. So I went to everybody in that organization, said, who is the best in Connecticut at short sales? They pointed at this one individual. I went up to him, introduced myself. I said, listen, I'm not looking for a job. I'm just looking, to work with individuals like yourself. He goes, okay. He's like, hey, I actually have a position open. It's an acquisition specialist. I'm like, I didn't know what that meant. I'm like, sure, I'll do it. And he handed
Hold
me a
on.
list.
So hold on. Were you an agent? Was this did you have to be licensed? Okay, cool.
Nope.
All right.
No, I literally door knocked for a year straight. Kid you not. And I knew nothing. So I'm like, all right. In my mind, I was like, all right, I'm going to learn this business from ground up. So he handed me a list of pre-foreclosure properties, people that weren't paying their mortgage. And he goes, go knock on their door. And I'm like, well, what am I going to say? Here's a script. So he gave me a script. He gave me a list, and I would go door to door, and I would call him all the time, say, hey, here's what happened. Here's what this interaction is. So he mentored me. He was my mentor. And then
Gotcha.
before you know it, fast forward, we became business partners, and we started real estate education companies, my virtual assistant company, while investing in real estate.
So then I see also that you worked in a lending company. You're a co-founder of West Johnson Lending. Was that anywhere
Yeah, we
there?
still do that. Yeah, we still do that now. That's
Okay.
smaller loans, to other investors that want money. We invest. It's a very small scale, but it's another revenue source for us.
Is that like hard money lending?
Yep, exactly.
Explain that right now, and where are you right now, if you will, with points and fees and
Yeah.
interest rates, if you don't mind, just so
Yeah,
people understand. Yeah, I mean,
Yep, 100%. So if someone's looking for a loan, what we do is we charge 3 points, 12% interest. That's today, and that could, if you different borrowers too. Sometimes you may be a little more lenient if you start using them more and more and more. You get more comfortable. You reduce, maybe a percentage here and there. But hard money lending is another investor coming to you and saying, "Hey, Bob, I need $200,000 to buy this property." You could also give them rehab money as well. So a very common thing is if someone's looking for, let's use an easy number. If someone's looking for $100,000 and they also want $30,000 to rehab it. Very standard is they will borrow about 80% of the purchase. So about $80,000 because they have to have skin in the game. I made this mistake before. So anyone listening to this, please be careful. Don't fall for the story. I need 100% of everything. I get it over here. This person gives me 100%. Well, then go with that person. What you'll find out is that one borrower that is saying that this person over there gives you 100%, they really don't. You need skin in the game. So be prepared to put about 20% of your own money into the purchase, and then you'll get your $30,000 of rehab money from the hard money.
So then in this situation, if you need $100,000 to buy that particular property, you can go to Bob and say, hey, Bob, I need $100,000 to purchase this property and $30,000 to put in. Bob is going to say, I will give you a loan for 80% or $80,000. You put in $20,000. Once you put in your $20,000, there's the $100,000 to purchase the property. And then we will give you an additional $30,000 to fix that up. And hopefully you will be able to renovate that and get back again some extra money, or what we can be considered profit. What kind of profit margins are you looking for your investors to have in those kind of deals?
I don't really care, to be honest with you. Typically they'll make about 20% profit on average, but nowadays you never know. Quite frankly, it depends how good you buy. The art is in buying, whether it's multifamily, single family. The art is actually what you buy it for.
Exactly. So the adage is, when I used to teach, is you make your money when you buy, not when you sell. So if you haven't bought it correctly, then it's going to be a world of hurt, if you will, if you're trying to get out of it, especially in a situation where you have rates today that could go up, could go down. So now you have a podcast of your own. And so this one is a very interesting one. It is called, let's see, Hooks to Properties Podcast. Yeah, I think I understand the reason why that is, but talk to me about the podcast.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So what we do is we go after ex-athletes that are now in real estate, which is pretty cool because it goes all the way from, we've interviewed developers, individuals that play professional hockey, now got into real estate, all the way from mortgage brokers to real estate agents to brokers to developers to flippers, all to Airbnb investors to commercial investors. So it's really, really cool to interview those individuals. The reason why we did it though is because a couple things is to recruit for our own company here, our real estate company, also to give back, because there's a lot of, like myself, when I was close to retiring, it's a lonely, scary place out there because you're not in the locker room anymore. And when you go out into the wilderness, the working world, it's just very different. And this podcast gives players hope that there is life after hockey, and it's going to take some time, but you could work your butt off to be very successful. So we interview those individuals.
Excellent. So that's really good. So if you need a team and you're used to being on a team, consider working with Bob. So you moved on and you have your own private equity firm. So I would assume right now you're doing mostly multifamily, or are you still doing some single family stuff?
So we do a lot. We have a single family company, mostly single, but we also invest in, me and my partner invest in some single family properties and also some syndications, like we were talking about before.
So when you talk about syndications, how big is syndications that you guys work with?
It's all different. I'm more of a third party individual. I don't raise money. So just so we're clear, I don't do the raising myself. And there's a reason why I don't. Why? Is because I know a lot of individuals that have done that. And it's just, if you're borrowing from your neighbors, your parents, your family, with interest rates kind of in flux, I don't feel comfortable, for me personally, stamping my name to it if I'm not the one that's buying that big building, right? So that's why I do it. Again, I invest more on the syndication. I'm the one that will give you, Charles, my money, because I trust you as the operator. I trust you as an individual that is, kind of solicit. Not, I guess the right word is looking for investors. NLP. Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So just for everybody else who may be listening to this, you generally in a syndication. Syndication is just a group of people getting together to buy an asset, right, and partner that also with management, right? So when you have a property and you partner with management, then you have pretty much a syndication of security, right? And generally, most, as I understand from recent statistics, most syndications are 506B, right? Section 506 is the section of the code for the SEC, right? That governs how we do that. And B is called generally friends and family. Those are the people that, again, you go and you can raise money with. And generally, there's two types of people who come together. Part is the GP. Those are the people who actually run and manage the syndication. And then the LPs, silent investors who have a vote, albeit probably a smaller vote, but they bring the money to a deal. And so that's kind of the position that you find yourself in. Did I get that correct?
That is correct. So what we did, we flip single family properties, whether it's on the wholesaling side or sometimes we do fix and flip, and use that money to then invest in different types of syndications. I've also, like we talked about, a 10-unit building, standalone building. I had used appliance company too with that building that I sold. I had a 10-unit that I also fixed up and sold as well. So I've been all the way from single family to commercial, done a lot of different stuff. And the main goal, and I know you talk about this a lot, the main goal is you make your active income, whether it's through my virtual assistant company. We have a little over 1,000 clients right now, 1,000 virtual assistants, and also my real estate company. So you take that money, you invest it back into real estate. That's really the idea. I know you talk a lot about taking your active income and dumping it into multifamily.
Absolutely. And it makes a whole bunch of sense. And I was just about to come to the virtual assistant company. Why create a VA company? Why get into that active role, since some of the stuff that you do is passive, some of the stuff that you do is active on the real estate side? Why create the virtual assistant company?
Well, back in 2007, so I started real estate in 2004, and then 2007, we got approached by individuals here. It was a startup company called Fortune Builders. Fortune Builders ended up being a very, very sizable company. The owners of that company went to my business partner, myself, and said, "Hey, we know you guys are really good in the coaching side," because we were also running another real estate education coaching program just on the back end of it. And they said, "Hey, we're starting this company from scratch. We're going to go around from real estate group to real estate group, and we have a huge list, but we've never ran a coaching program. Will you guys partner with us and run the back end of the coaching program?" And this is really brand new. and it went from zero to like over a $300+ million company over its time. But the reason why I'm saying that is because I headed up the coaching side of it. So my job was to recruit coaches, to train them, to make sure they're up and running, to be able to coach students as well coming into the program. And one of the things that I realized is me, you, them, we were all the same. We all only had a limited amount of time in our day to actually do the things that needed to be done to be successful. So
Yeah.
I would have a coaching call, and I would give them homework or action items to do. So I would space my coaching calls because I want to make sure they had time to do these things out every 2 weeks. I'd get on another call the second week and they wouldn't do it. And I'd be like, what happened? Is, well, my kid's soccer game. Well, I had this. Well, I had to travel. Well, it was always, so I was looking it took me 7 years to finally figure it out, but I was always looking for a different product or a service that could help the students. Say, okay, I could refer you over to this service that could help you do those tasks. And then 2013, I got introduced to what a virtual assistant was. So all these ideas, thoughts were started 07, 08, 09. I'm like, all right, what is it? How can we help, our students? And then as soon as I figured out what a virtual assistant was, I hired one for myself. And I'm like, you know what? Boom, 2014, light bulb went on. I'm like, there's got to be a business here. We can marry the training together with virtual assistants, and all my VAs are out of the Philippines. So sending a company over there, that's just a different story. I mean, that's a whole new podcast to set up a company in the Philippines.
Absolutely. So you bring those resources. There's several other resources that I know that recommend getting virtual assistants from the Philippines. They're very good. And again, they have a tendency, as most people, you have to coach and you have to train. And so you all train your VAs, or is the investor responsible for doing the training? How do you partner them together? How does that work?
Yeah, we have a whole recruiting and sourcing team in the Philippines. So we go through, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of applications each week. So then we have a team that sifts through them, gets on a call, and we have a scorecard. There's a whole, kind of a whole system to it. And then they go through 3 to 4 weeks of training. We have a lot of property managers. I know you know this. We have a lot of property managers or buy and hold investors, that use our VAs for, collections, for transaction coordinated, application processing, customer service, maintenance, et cetera, a laundry list of things that they do. But we then put them obviously through that training. And then when they come out of the training, it goes to our placements team. And then they actually place the VAs to the individual, and they match up the tasks to what they're looking for.
Last question here on this one. Well, I think it's the last question. What kind of commitment should an investor who may be interested in getting a VA? We've heard VAs, but hey, we have a podcast, we have this. I can use a lot of different help. Is there a commitment time, 6 months or so, or whatever? How do you all? What do you require from the investors to work with your VAs?
So for me, we don't have a lock-in period. I don't. So for my virtual assistant, and here's why. I don't want to be like a Verizon where they lock into a 2-year contract, right? I know some companies do. I don't think it is, because I also use my product, right? And if I'm good as a service provider, you won't leave, right? So that's the way I look at it. You just give me, the only thing we ask is a 2-week heads up. Say, hey, it's working, it's not working, etc. So the only thing we do is ask for just a 2-week heads up. We offer part-time and full-time VAs, 20 hours or 40 hours a week. So, I mean, there's so many things that we could do. Your podcast is an example. I use VAs that run my whole podcast. I just did a podcast too. Same exact thing. They use my VAs to run their podcast. Kind of funny.
Absolutely. So let's talk about what you're doing right now. What has you passionate? We're at the beginning of 2024, as we're recording this. What do you have on your plate? What are you and your teams working on?
Yep. Well, 2 things. On my real estate team, I'm going to start adding more buy and holds this year. We do a lot of wholesaling. So last year 2 years ago, I believe, I could be off by a couple numbers, but we did 230 transactions, not last year, the year before, 180 last year. And this year, obviously, we're looking just to maintain that. the market we're in, we're looking to maintain and use those profits from my real estate business to buy more passive. And same thing with my virtual assistant company. We always look for different lines of businesses. Like we have a whole medical line other than real estate. So we have real estate, we have property management. We work with some private equity companies. We work with marketing companies. We work with wholesalers, real estate agents, brokers, etc. It's always adding in another, I like to call them lines of businesses. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're looking to do. And then taking that profit again and dumping it into passive opportunities.
Dumping them into passive and again, I'm not an attorney. I'm sure that I don't believe that you are either.
No, I'm not.
Neither one of us are lawyers, but that may be a way for you to help reduce the amount of taxable income by taking, again, that active income that you're making and putting it into the passive resources or passive income opportunities. So listen, thank you so much for coming on. I know it's taken us a while to be able to get this together. I always ask one last question. Well, two last questions. How do people get in contact with you, your VA service, or even your company that you're running right now for the rehabbing, fix and flip?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you could reach me obviously through all social, but what I would do is I'd go to REVA Global, REVA Global.com. If anyone's interested in jumping on a strategy session, we have a team that'll jump on and see exactly the best way for you to use a virtual assistant in your business. So reach me through there. Find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. We're posting stuff. So this will be on. We'll use this as well to post it to promote, obviously, yourself and our companies as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. And final question is, we asked this last question about giving people the boot, helping people to understand and get that one little thing that gets them going to do the next thing. What kind of advice would you give to give the boot to someone right now?
Yep. Well, I would say stop. Don't overthink. And, we're our own worst enemy we close our eyes like, well, I want this, I want that, I want that. Open your eyes, look at reality. The only way you're ever going to get what you want is to take that first step forward. Take that red boot, kick yourself in the butt, and move it forward and just keep moving forward. So that's the advice I would give, because you're not going to get anything unless you actually start moving forward.
Well, Bob, thank you again so much for your time. And we look forward to working with you in the future, maybe even using some of your virtual assistant services.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Jonathan.
Thank you so much.